Hare Krishna. So, in the previous session, we discussed the topic how to get perfect knowledge. And we looked at what is perfect knowledge and we discussed the three processes of acquiring knowledge. We looked at Pratyaksha Praman, which is acquiring knowledge through our senses. We looked at Anuman Praman, which is acquiring knowledge through logical inference or speculation. And then we looked at Sabda Praman, or acquiring knowledge simply by hearing from a bona fide authority. We discussed how human beings have four inherent defects. Defects like they have imperfect senses, they are illusioned, they commit mistakes, and they have a cheating propensity. And because of these inherent defects, it is not possible to get perfect knowledge or cannot guarantee perfect knowledge. Then we systematically established how Shabda Praman, hearing from the right source or right or bona fide authority, guarantees perfect knowledge. We also discussed how this process is safe, how it saves time and effort, and we have no other choice. And finally, we concluded that the highest source of knowledge and the perfect authority, if you want to get perfect knowledge, is the Vedas. So that brings us to today's topic, the source of knowledge, the Vedas. So let us begin. What we will learn? We will learn what are the Vedas. We will look at the origin of the Vedas. We will discuss, can we place faith in the Vedas? We will discuss about the disciplic succession. And then we will discuss certain parallels from the Vedas and modern science. How certain things that have been discovered by modern science have already been mentioned in the Vedas. And we will also look at some predictions that have come true, which are already mentioned in the Vedic literatures. So that's the roadmap for today's presentation. So what are Vedas? The word Veda means knowledge. Now Veda does not specifically mean any particular scripture. Any scripture which gives us knowledge of God can be called as Veda. And Vedas are a very ancient body of knowledge. Vedas are words of God. It is a vast body of knowledge with several billion Sanskrit verses. Vedas are considered as desire trees, and it contains everything knowable by man. In Vedas, we find knowledge which deals with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realizations. And this is really amazing that it covers both aspects of life, material as well as spiritual. So Vedas contains knowledge of economics, military, religion, social, politics, medicine, chemical, grammar, black magic, law, arts, history, astronomy, astrology, music, rituals, dance, and many other subject matters. Everything is found in the Vedas. Now I'll give you an overview of the Vedas. Vedas are called Apaurushaya. This word Apaurushaya means they are not man-made. They are not a creation of mundane beings. Vedas are words of God who is all perfect, who is free from the four defects that every human being have. So they are very special. They do not have the mistakes or errors. Sometimes, or people in general have an opinion that Vedas are Hindu scriptures. But there is no such word as Hindu anywhere in the Vedas. This word Hindu is actually given by Muslim people because there was a river called Sindhu, and from Sindhu it has come the word Hindu. Actually, Vedic culture is Varnashram Dharma. There are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, and that is the real Vedic culture. How to create Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. But this word Hindu is a foreign term. We are not Hindus. Our real identification is Varnashram Dharma. And Varnashram denotes the followers of the Vedas. We will discuss more in detail about Varnashram in our future sessions. So Vedas deal with three departments of activities. They deal with Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda and Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda. So people in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance they are most attached to fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda sections of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratification. They are only interested in sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available and material opulence is very, very common. So major portion of Vedas is Karma Kanda. Little higher than Karma Kanda is Jnana Kanda, philosophical research, where a person becomes fed up of sense gratification and he genuinely tries to search out the absolute truth through the study of the Vedas. That is Jnana Kanda. And then a more higher than that is Upasana Kanda, where a person comes to the stage of recognizing the Supreme Lord and tries to worship the Supreme Lord as per the directions given in the Upasana Kanda. There are four material aspects of the Vedas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. People perform Dharma because they want Artha, they want money so that they can satisfy their Kama or lust, and finally becoming fed up or frustrated with sense gratification and not being able to fulfill their desire, finally they desire moksha or liberation. So all these aspects are covered in the Vedas. Then there are three spiritual aspects: Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. In Sambandha Gyan, one establishes one's original relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Abhideya, one acts according to that constitutional relationship. And Prayojana is trying to achieve the ultimate goal of life, which is to develop love of Godhead. Vedas are broadly classified into three: Shruti, Smriti and Nyaya. Shruti is that which is to be heard. Smriti is that which is to be remembered. And Nyaya, Vedanta Sutra, is logically given. So now we will look at the structure of the Vedas, just to give you an overview. Vedas, Rig Veda, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved and Atharva Ved. Then there are 108 Upanishads. There is Vedanta Sutra, there is 18 Puranas, there is Itihasas or histories, and there are other Vedic scriptures. These four Vedas, Rig Veda, Sam, Yajur, Atharva and the 108 Upanishads, they are categorized as Shruti, that which is to be heard. Vedanta Sutra is Nyaya, logic, and 18 Puranas, Itihasas and others, they are called Smriti, that which is to be remembered. So now we will discuss further about the origin of the Vedas. First and foremost thing that we have to clearly understand is that the Vedas do not come from a materially conditioned person, but it comes from the all-perfect Supreme Lord. Vedas are coexisting with the Lord. They are considered as the breathing of the Lord. And there is no way we can put a time to the Vedas, because Vedas are as eternal as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We cannot say that Vedas are so many years old. They are eternal, always existing. And the process of learning the Vedas was simply by hearing. So in the olden or in the Vedic age, you would see that children would go to Gurukul. There were no books. They would hear from Guru and they would remember everything for the rest of their life. So that was the system. Learning Vedas by hearing from a bona fide guru. Who recorded the Vedas? So as I said, Vedas have been eternally existing. But seeing the condition of the people of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva, who is an empowered literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord, thought of writing, of putting the entire Vedas in a written form so that the people of this age, Kali Yuga, can read and understand them. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 10, disqualifications or characteristics of the people of Kali Yuga are given. It is said, Prayana alpayusha sabhya kalau asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrata. It is said that in this iron age of Kali, men have short lives, they are quarrelsome, they are lazy, they are misguided, they are unlucky, and above all, they are always disturbed. So these are the qualification or disqualifications of the people of Kali Yuga. Now with this disqualification, how is it possible for anyone to even remember all these Vedas? Vyasadeva, being a Trikalagya, being a very empowered personality, was able to see the condition of Kali Yuga, and so he decided to write all the Vedas in a written form, and so he wrote it down. But in the ages before Kali Yuga, people were so intelligent and they had such sharp memories that they would hear from their guru once and they would remember the content for the rest of their life. So the example is of Sukdev Goswami. Sukdev Goswami spoke the entire Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and he was able to recollect everything and explain the entire Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. He did not have books or computers or laptops. Everything from memory. So as I said, seeing the degraded condition of people of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva recorded the Vedas in written format about 5000 years ago. So what are Vedas? One way of looking at Vedas is Vedas are considered as the instruction manual for humanity, for mankind. When you buy an electronic device or appliance like a fridge or washing machine or a mobile phone or a dishwasher or a car, the manufacturer supplies a manual with it. So the person who has purchased it can read the manual and understand how this particular device, electronic device, is meant to be used and operated. What features it has, how to use them, and if there is any problem, how to troubleshoot it. All this is mentioned in a manual. Similarly, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates his creation, this material creation, cosmic manifestation, he also supplies a manual with it for the human beings to read and understand how to lead a happy, peaceful life in harmony with the nature. And that manual is the Vedas. So it is very important for every human being to understand what are Vedas and what is the knowledge given in the Vedas. By reading the Vedas, a human being knows what to do, what not to do, and so on. And because people in general have neglected the Vedas, we see the world has become so chaotic. People are losing good qualities. People are becoming atheists. They no longer have faith in spirituality. So these are the result. Yasastra vidim usrijya vartate kamakarata nasa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na paramam gati. If one conducts his life without following the instructions or directions given in the Vedas, he cannot be happy in this life, nor can he be happy in the next life. So it's very, very important for all of us to understand the knowledge that is given in the Vedas. As I've said earlier, Vedas come from God, and God is the absolute truth. And therefore His words are the absolute evidence, and they do not need any other evidence to prove or justify themselves. So that's why Vedas are considered self-evident truth. So, to give you an example, it is said in the scriptures that if we touch a stool of any living entity, we have to immediately take bath because we are contaminated. But at the same time, it is explained in the Vedas that the stool of a cow, the cow dung, is extremely pure. So here we see there is contradiction. In one place it is said stool of any living entity is impure, but at the same time stool of cow dung is pure. That's why we see that in India people put cow dung cakes on the walls of their house because it is considered pure. Same is with conch shell. Conch shell is a bone of an animal. If we touch the bone of any living entity, we have to take bath, we are contaminated. But conch shell is used in the temple. So this is how Vedas are always perfect and they are self-evident truth. They don't need any other additional proofs to prove them. So with regards to this cow dung, with our ordinary senses we can argue that this is contradictory. Actually, it is contradictory from the ordinary point of view, but it is not false. It's a fact because it is given in the Vedas. In Calcutta, a very prominent scientist and doctor analyzed the cow dung and he found that it contains all antiseptic properties. Now, after hearing, some may have doubt that is it really safe to place faith in the Vedas? Can we really place faith in the Vedas? So we'll discuss this point and it's very important to understand. First of all, we have to understand that faith is an integral part of our life. We cannot live without faith. At every walk of life, we place faith. For example, when you board an aeroplane, you place faith in the aircraft, pilot, etc. When you go to a surgeon for surgery, you have faith that he will not kill you and he'll cure you. When you eat in a restaurant, you have faith that they will not feed you poison and kill you. So, faith is required in everything we do. And there are many things that we do where we have implicitly placed our faith. Even in modern science, faith is required. People in general, especially the youngsters or those going to the university, studying in university, often feel that we don't want to study Vedas and all this because, after all, it's all based on faith. Whereas with science, modern science, there is no question of dogmatic faith because everything is empirically proven, everything is experimentally verified, and therefore there is no question of dogmatic faith in scientific methodologies and theories. But people don't realize that even in science, faith is required. So the way the science works is a scientist will first of all formulate an hypothesis and then he will conduct some experiments to prove whether his hypothesis was correct or wrong. Now, the point is when he formulates a hypothesis, he has implicit faith that this hypothesis is correct. Then when he conducts the experiment, even before he conducts the actual experiments, he has to place faith that his chosen method of experimentation will help him conclude whether his hypotheses were correct or wrong. Is it not? There are many other avenues where faith asserts itself, and that is, how do we know what scientists are saying is true, or if they are really portraying the reality as it is. For example, although we may have never experienced the theory of relativity in our life, but just because a famous scientist, Albert Einstein, says, we accept it. The point is, if we accept something which we have not experienced ourselves as truth, it simply means we are placing our faith in it. So, faith should be on that which is authoritative. And what does that mean? there are two conditions. It should have never been disproved and it should have stood the test of time. That is, it should have never been changed, updated, or modified. Based on this requirement, we can easily say that modern scientific theories are not authoritative. People can easily place faith in the authority of the scientist, but when called upon to place faith in the authority of the Vedas and saintly people, they refuse. But actually, if you understand, it is much easier to place faith in the Vedas than in the modern scientific theories. Why? Because Vedic truths have never been changed, updated, or modified. They are like the lines drawn on stone and they have stood the test of time. What was relevant and true thousands of years ago is relevant and true today and will be relevant and true for the thousands of years to come. Modern science do not meet this criteria. None of the scientific theories have stood the test of time. Scientific theories are constantly being revised, updated, and modified. Today's theories will become obsolete tomorrow. Einstein's theory of relativity has been consistently refined over the past century. In fact, modern science is finding newer and newer information that is confirming the Vedic truths, and because of that, scientists have to amend their books. But Vedas never had to be amended to suit modern scientific discoveries. Modern scientific theories are not authoritative, they don't satisfy the above criteria. Modern science is finding newer and newer information that is confirming the Vedic truths, but the Vedas have never been amended to suit modern scientific discoveries. Another point is scientists of today lack qualities. Can we place faith in them? When you look at the life of acharyas and sages and study them deeply, they have deep qualities of compassion, tolerance, and so on. And their only business is to somehow do the highest welfare work of connecting the forgetful, conditioned souls to the eternal Father. Because they fully know that unless they are reconnected with the Supreme Father, they will not be happy. These acharyas and sages are completely free of any bad qualities of lust, anger, greed, pride, madness, and illusion. They are the best friend of all living entities. And they just cannot tolerate the suffering of other living beings. Do we find such fine qualities in scientists of today? And it is not that Vedas demand blind or unreasonable faith. They don't. They demand reasonable faith. That means you apply the principles that are given in the scriptures in your own life and then see it for yourself whether it brings about a positive result in your life or not. That's how one increases one's faith in the Vedas. This knowledge has to be applied. This is not just a theoretical knowledge. It has to be applied in the laboratory of one's life to see whether it is true or not. Disciplic succession, also known as Sampradaya. So Vedas come from God, but how is it received by the student is also very important to understand. The way Vedic knowledge is received is through a line of spiritual masters, also known as disciplic succession or Sampradaya or Parampara system. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 2, Krishna mentions the verse Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Raja Rasho Vidu Sakale Neha Mahata Yoga Nasta Parandarpa. He said this knowledge is received in Parampara through the chain of spiritual masters. And the way it works is Guru hears from his Guru and then he teaches the same knowledge to his disciples. Those disciples then become Guru and they teach to their disciples. Then those disciples becomes Guru and teach to their disciples. Like that, one generation after the other, one spiritual master after the other, the knowledge is passed down systematically to the present generation. So there is a nice verse, Sampradaya Vihina ye mantraste nisfalamata atau kalo bhavishyanti chatvara sampradayina. Shri Brahma Rudra Sanaka Vaishnava Kshiti Pavana Chatvarastekalo Bhavya Hi Utkale Purushottamat Ramanujam Shri Shivi Chakre Madhavacharyam Chaturmukha Shri Vishnu Swaminam Rudro Nibandityam Chatushana. The above verse explains that if one is not connected with a bona fide disciplic succession, namely Sri, Brahma, Rudra, and Kumar Sampradaya, whatever mantra he chants will not bring the desired results. So, the way Sampradaya works is Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He initially gave this knowledge to four of his disciples Brahmaji, Lakshmiji, Shivji, and four Kumaras. Then Brahma gave the knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva gave it to his disciple. And like that, the knowledge is being passed down from generations to generations. So like that, there are four sampradayas. Sampradaya of Lord Brahma, which is called Brahma Sampradaya. Sampradaya beginning with Lakshmi Devi, which is called Sri Sampradaya. Sampradaya beginning with Lord Shiva, also known as Rudra Sampradaya. And Sampradaya beginning with four Kumaras called Kumar Sampradaya. Anyone who wants to get perfect knowledge of the things as they are, they have to be connected to one of these four Sampradayas. So ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, comes in Brahma Sampradaya. And I will show you the whole lineage of all the spiritual masters, beginning from Krishna all the way to our present Acharya. God cannot be understood by material senses or our intellectual capacity. We have to be very convinced about this. God can only be understood when He reveals Himself to us through the scriptures and through the great saintly persons who live their lives according to the injunctions of the scriptures. So if you want to really know the absolute truth, we have to get connected to one of these four sampradayas. Only then we can be sure that the knowledge that we are receiving is perfect. Without these four sampradayas, we cannot be sure whether the knowledge is true or not. Sampradaya. So, as I said, ISKCON comes under Brahma Sampradaya. It is known as Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. And now I'm going to list down the names of all the spiritual masters who come in this Sampradaya. So, first is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gives this knowledge to Brahmaji. Brahmaji then gives this knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gives it to Vyasadeva, who then writes, who puts down all the Vedic knowledge in a written format. Vyasadeva teaches this knowledge to Madhava. Madhava teaches it to Padmanabha. Padmanabha to Narhari, then to Madhava again. Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Gnanasindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhvendrapuri, Ishwarapuri, Lord Chaitanya. So Ishwarapuri is the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. But this Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, who came as a devotee 500 years ago to teach us how to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many disciples: Rupa Goswami, Sarup Damodar, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Krishna Das, Narottam, Vishwanath, Baladev Jagannath, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada is the latest Acharya, the most recent Acharya coming in the Brahma Madhava Sampradaya, beginning from Krishna himself. So you can see the line that we are following, the spiritual master, is a bona fide Sampradaya where So that's why we study the books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now I want to tell you some parallels from the Vedas and modern science. The first one is test tube babies. The Mahabharata describes how once, when Gandhari was pregnant, in a fit of anger, she struck her womb and consequently had a miscarriage. The lump of flesh that came out of her womb was cut into 100 pieces. The great sage Vyasadeva instructed her to place these pieces in 100 ghee pots, and that is how the Kauravas were born. The Mahabharata actually describes how Vyasadeva created the Kauravas from a single embryo from Gandhari. States Dr. B.G. Matapurkar, a surgeon with Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi. Dr. Matapurkar holds a US patent on an organ regeneration technique that he developed many years ago. He further states that they not only knew about test tube babies and embryo splitting, but also had the technology to grow human fetuses outside the body of a woman, something that is not known to modern science even today. So you can imagine how advanced the Vedas were and how advanced the sages were. Another parallel from the Vedas and modern science. Vivid description of the growth of embryo in Srimad Bhagavatam. Using a variety of complicated instruments, gynecologists have gradually come to know how the embryo grows during the period of pregnancy. But Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 30th chapter, gives a vivid description of the growth of the embryo in the mother's womb. If we compare the information given therein with the information given in a standard textbook such as the embryology section of Gray's Anatomy, there are striking similarities in the information obtained from the two sources. So this is something very amazing. Modern scientists are wonderstruck on seeing these striking similarities. They cannot even imagine how such great truths were written down at a time when there was no sophisticated instruments. 5,000 years ago, they didn't have any sophisticated instruments, but the description is so accurate. Viman Shastra. Long before modern aviation, ancient Vedic text spoke of Vimanas, flying machines, described in epic like Ramayana and Mahabharata, but few know about the Vimanic Shastra, a Sanskrit text claimed to be a manual for building and operating these aerial vehicles. It speaks of energy sources, anti-gravity principles, and propulsion systems, concepts that baffle modern scientists even today. In the Ramayana, it is described Ravana would fly from one place to another in a Vimana, similar to the aeroplane devised by White brothers. Brahmastra. In the Mahabharata, Ashwathama sent a Brahmastra at Uttara, which would kill the fetus in her womb without causing any injury whatsoever to her. So this is how accurate Brahmastra was. The Brahmastra would be so precisely directed that it would kill only the person to whom it was directed, and it would not cause any injury to any other person, even if that person was within the womb of a mother. That's how accurate Brahmastra were. The Brahmastra is far more powerful and accurate than the nuclear bombs of today. Cow dung is pure. The Vedas state that cow dung, in spite of being the stool of an animal, is pure. It was only in 1940 that the antiseptic qualities of cow dung were discovered by scientists. Some more parallels from the Vedas. Kurukshetra weapons. The Kurukshetra war involved many subtle celestial weapons like Shabdabhedi, Vayavya, Parthavya, Bhaumya, Antardhana, etc., which are far more sophisticated than the gross weapons known to scientists today. They not only had weapons of fire, but also of water, air, sound, something which our scientists are yet to discover. Life in fire. The Vedas claim that there are living entities everywhere, even in fire. Modern science, however, presumes that no life could exist in fire, but recent advancements in the field of medicines have shown that microbes called fire bacteria survive even in fire. Relativity. The Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 9 describes Kukud Muni's experience of relativity of time. This resembles the Einstein theory of relativity. Sanskrit language. Sanskrit is grammatically the most perfect language, and most of the languages of the world are derived from it. It is also highly appropriate natural language for artificial intelligence due to its precise rule-based and structural grammatical nature. Vedic mathematics. Vedic mathematics is the most perfect, easiest and fastest one. This is the reason why Vedic maths is used by students to crack competitive examinations like CAT, MAT, etc. The modern day mathematics is not the most perfect method. Yoga asanas. The power of yoga asanas, Ayurveda, meditation is unquestionable till date. Functions of mind, intelligence and ego. Modern science is yet to give a proper definition of the mind, intelligence and ego, their nature and function, but the Vedas explain this in minute detail. So here's the picture of Dwarka city submerged under the water. There is a mention of a city of Dwarka in Srimad Bhagavatam, and marine archaeologists have found a city under the ocean, as you can see in the pictures. In Ramayana, we find that the monkeys built a bridge between India and Sri Lanka called the Ram Setu, and that bridge is still visible from the satellite, as you can see in the picture. Plants have life. The Vedas state that plants have life. Recently, one scientist, Stefano, has proved that plants not only have life but can also move, have feelings, intelligence and consciousness. Scientists believe that they were inanimate. So what I'm going to do is show you a video which demonstrates that plants indeed have feelings, intelligence and consciousness.
Same for the plants. Let's have a look. This is a cuscuta plant. Cuscuta plant is a parasitic plant that need to find a host in a very short time before dying. And you can see how this plant is immediately directing toward the tomato plant and find it and parasitizing the tomato plant. Well, this is quite trivial. It's just a chemical driving the information to the plant. It's a volatile. But look at this case. This is the same plant that have to take a decision because it's in the middle between wheat and tomato. And all the time is choosing tomato because tomato is much easier to parasitize. But if there is no tomato, even wheat can work. Okay, and this is something simple. Let's have to see something a little bit more curious. This is a bin in my lab, and this is a support, and you can see that how is moving for reaching the support. So I mean, this plant know exactly where the support is, where the pole is, and is trying to do all its best for reaching. I don't know if you can see, but the apex of the shoots already made a kind of hook in the right position, even if the plants didn't touch until now the support. And you can see also the movement. It's a wonderful movement. It's just, even in this case, just passive, just based on the osmotic actuator. Look at the hook in the apex, and almost. Another try, and it's not enough. And you can almost feel, no, the effort. And look at the leaves now that they reach the support, how is much quiet, calm. Anyway, so we know that the bean is aware of the pole, okay? There is also something more impressive, because look, in this case, I am putting a pole among two beans. So there is the sensing phase. They know that there is a pole. They start to compete. And look, when the first one is winning, the winner, the other one change direction. So this is you can repeat this experiment 100 times, and 100 times you will get the same result. So this means that the second plant is not just aware of the support, is also aware of another organism, of another plants, and is aware of what the other plant is able to do. Okay? Great. Social life.
Okay, so now we will discuss some Vedic predictions that have come true. First one is Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha's appearance is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, text number 24. This is the verse. It is said, "Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists." Now remember, Buddha came about 2500 years ago, but his appearance was predicted 5000 years ago by Vyasadeva, and he wrote it down in Srimad Bhagavatam. Another Vedic prediction is of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioned in Mahabharata 127.92.75 and Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto 5th chapter text number 32. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared only 500 years ago, but his appearance is predicted by Vyasadeva 5000 years ago. Here are some other examples. Chanakya Pandit is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto 1st chapter text number 11. A certain Brahmana, Chanakya, will betray the trust of King Nanda and his 8 sons and will destroy their dynasty. In their absence, the Mauryas will rule the world as the age of Kali continues. Then Chandragupta and Emperor Ashoka is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto 1st chapter text number 12. Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad are mentioned in Bhavishya Puran, Atharva Veda, Kanda 20, Sukta 127, 1-3. So this is so amazing. Even personalities of other religions are mentioned in the Vedas. Prophet Muhammad and Jesus Christ. If the Vedas were of mundane origin, then how would it be possible for them to state such profound truths which the modern science has only recently started discovering? And how can they make accurate predictions about future happenings? So the conclusion is unmistakably obvious. The Vedas are coming from a person who is all-knowing, who knows the past, present and future. And therefore, these Vedas are the words of God, because only God knows past, present and future. Now let us look at some more vivid predictions about the degradations of Kali Yuga. Food will be sold publicly in marketplaces. In the past, food was never sold. It was only given in charity. People will eat flesh of their own fetus. Aborted fetus in China, Japan and other countries are considered special delicacy. Principles of religion will be observed only for the sake of reputation. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto 2nd chapter text number 6. Man-woman relationship based only on sex. Previously, marriages were considered sacred duty meant for increasing one's service to God. Men with long hair considered beautiful. Brahmana known just by wearing his thread. Today we find people who are born in Brahmana family, but they are not at all following any Brahmanical principles. They are breaking all regulative principles, but they still wear a thread and are proud of calling themselves as Brahmanas. Might will be right. In the past, a person was respected for his learning, but nowadays it's only wealth or brute force that commands respect. So these are all the predictions given in the Vedas. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. I hope that was useful. I will see you in the next one. Hare Krishna.